Ever wondered what would happen if humanity's most beloved and perhaps most baffling creations met the rigid, sterile palates of an entire galaxy? What if the very flavors we crave, the spices that ignite our senses, were deemed a Class 7 biohazard by interstellar law? Today, we're diving into a brand new HFY story that explores just that: the Human Culinary Catastrophe. It's a tale of a defiant human chef, a galaxy obsessed with bland nutrient paste, and a sandwich that threatens to crumble the very foundations of galactic order. But before we get into the delicious details, I want to hear from you. What's one human food that you think would absolutely blow an alien's mind, for better or worse? Is it something spicy, something fermented, or just something utterly bizarre? Let me know in the comments below. Your wildest culinary predictions could inspire our next story. Now, prepare your taste buds for a journey beyond the stars. This is the Human Culinary Catastrophe. If you enjoyed this taste of galactic chaos, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss out on more incredible HFY stories from HFY Legends. Chapter 1. The Galactic Palate and the Terran Anomaly. The Galactic Council, in its infinite wisdom and millennia of culinary evolution, had long ago established the Universal Food Code. It was a document of unparalleled precision, categorizing every known edible substance, every preparation method, and every acceptable flavor profile across the myriad species of the cosmos. It dictated that food should be nourishing, efficient, and, above all, predictable. Surprises were for battlefields, not banquets. Then came the Terrans, humanity, and with them, their cuisine. The first contact had been, by galactic standards, a resounding success. Diplomatic relations were established, trade agreements drafted, and cultural exchanges initiated. Everything proceeded smoothly until the Culinary Exchange Program. The Terrans, with their baffling array of foodstuffs, presented a challenge the Universal Food Code was ill-equipped to handle. Ambassador Zelos, a being of refined tastes and a digestive system calibrated for nutrient paste and synthesized proteins, recalled the initial presentation with a shudder. The Terran delegate, a cheerful, slightly disheveled human named Chef Anya Sharma, had beamed with an enthusiasm that Zelos now recognized as a precursor to gastronomic chaos. She had presented a dish, a vibrant, aromatic concoction she called curry. It's a blend of spices, vegetables, and a protein, simmered slowly to allow the flavors to meld, she had explained, her eyes sparkling with an almost unsettling zeal. The key is the complexity, the layers of taste that unfold with each bite. Complexity, layers. These were not terms typically associated with efficient nutrient delivery. The first bite had been an experience. A searing, delightful agony that had sent Zealous' internal temperature regulators into overdrive. His sensory organs, accustomed to the gentle hum of approved flavors, had screamed in protest. Yet there was an undeniable, almost addictive quality to the pain. He had, to his eternal embarrassment, asked for a second helping. The subsequent medical review had been less enthusiastic. His digestive tract, while not permanently damaged, had undergone what the Terran medics cheerfully called a cleansing. His internal flora had been, to put it mildly, recalibrated. The incident, along with similar reports from other bewildered alien delegates who had sampled Terran fermented beverages and spicy sauces, led to a swift and decisive ruling by the Galactic Council. Terran cuisine, in its raw, unadulterated form, was deemed a Class 7 biohazard. It was too unpredictable, too potent, too human. It was banned from all interspecies culinary exchanges. Relegated to the Terran sector, a curious anomaly in the otherwise orderly galactic pantry. Chef Anya, however, was not one to be deterred by bureaucratic pronouncements. She saw it not as a ban, but as a challenge, a challenge to the galactic palate, a challenge to the very definition of food. And she had a plan. A plan that involved a seemingly innocuous, yet utterly revolutionary, Terran staple, the humble sandwich. Chapter 2. The Subversive Sandwich. Chef Anya's kitchen on the Terran diplomatic vessel was a vibrant, chaotic symphony of aromas and activity, a stark contrast to the sterile, efficient food replicators favored by most galactic species. Here, ingredients were chopped, sautéed, and kneaded by hand, each action a testament to the messy, unpredictable art of human cooking. The ban on Terran cuisine had, if anything, only fueled her creative fire. She was aiming to violate the universal food code. She intended to redefine it. The sandwich, in its purest form, was deceptively simple. Fillings nestled between two slices of bread, but in Anya's hands, it became a canvas for subversion. She was just making food. She was crafting an experience, a Trojan horse of flavor designed to bypass alien prejudices and ignite a culinary revolution. Her first target was the upcoming Interstellar Trade Summit, a gathering of the most influential species in the galaxy. The official catering, she knew, would be a bland, universally palatable affair of nutrient gels and protein wafers. Perfect. It would create a vacuum, a craving for something more, and her sandwich would be that something. She began with the bread, not the bland, mass-produced loaves of the galactic market, but a sourdough nurtured for weeks. Its crust golden and crisp, its interior soft and tangy. The aroma alone was enough to draw curious alien interns to her galley, their olfactory sensors twitching in confusion and intrigue. "It's alive," one timidly asked, observing the bubbling starter. "It's fermentation," Anya explained, a mischievous glint in her eye. "A controlled chaos that creates depth." Next, the fillings. She knew direct spice would be a red flag. So, she focused on umami, the savory fifth taste that humans instinctively craved. Slow-roasted Terran beef, marinated in a delicate blend of herbs and a hint of smoked paprika, thinly sliced and piled high. Alongside it, crisp, fresh greens from the ship's hydroponics bay, and a rich, creamy cheese aged to perfection. Each component, individually, was harmless, even agreeable, by galactic standards. The magic, she knew, lay in their combination. The final touch was a spread, a subtle concoction of roasted garlic, sun-dried tomatoes, and a touch of balsamic vinegar. It was just enough to awaken the palate, to hint at the complexity that lay beneath, without triggering any Class 7 biohazard alarms. She meticulously wrapped each sandwich in biodegradable, transparent film, ensuring its visual appeal was as enticing as its hidden flavors. Her plan was simple: distribute the sandwiches discreetly, not as official summit fare, but as personal provisions for the Terran delegation. She knew the curious nature of aliens, their insatiable desire to understand human oddities. It wouldn't be long before the aroma, the visual appeal, and the sheer novelty of a human provision would pique their interest. And once they took that first bite, the universal food code wouldn't stand a chance. Chapter 3. The Crumbling Code. The Interstellar Trade Summit was a spectacle of galactic diplomacy, a kaleidoscope of species and technologies. The air hummed with the murmur of negotiations, the whir of anti-gravity transports, and the faint, sterile scent of nutrient paste. Chef Anya, disguised as a mere culinary assistant, moved through the throngs, a discreet cooler slung over her shoulder. Her mission: strategic sandwich deployment. She started with the junior delegates, the ones most likely to be adventurous or simply hungry enough to overlook protocol. A casually offered sandwich to a stressed-looking Xylarian intern, a whispered suggestion of Terran energy bar to a perpetually peckish Glarbonian. The initial reactions were cautious: sniffs, tentative pokes, then a hesitant bite. And then, the transformation. The Xylarian, whose species communicated primarily through bioluminescent shifts, began to pulse with an excited, almost frantic rhythm. The Glarbonian, known for its stoic demeanor, let out a soft, contented hum. Word, or rather, scent and subtle energy fluctuations, began to spread. Soon, senior delegates, their curiosity piqued by the unusual activity, began to inquire, "What is that peculiar aroma?" Asked a stern-faced Cathar official, her multiple sensory stalks twitching. "Just a Terran." "Snack," Anya replied, offering one with an innocent smile. The Cathar, after a moment of internal debate, accepted. Her initial reaction was a series of rapid, almost violent color changes across her chitinous plates, a Cathar expression of profound surprise. Then, a slow, deliberate chewing, followed by a sigh that resonated through the chamber. Ambassador Zelos, observing from a distance, felt a familiar dread. He recognized the signs. The subtle shifts in posture, the widening of ocular sensors, the involuntary twitching of digestive appendages. He had seen it before, during the infamous curry incident. He watched, horrified, as the meticulously crafted Universal Food Code began to crumble. One delicious bite at a time. By the midday recess, the demand for Anya's Terran snacks had reached a fever pitch. Delegates, abandoning their bland nutrient paste, flocked to the Terran delegation's makeshift refreshment station. The subtle hum of negotiations was replaced by the enthusiastic crunch of sourdough and the satisfied murmurs of alien species discovering the joys of umami. Even the most rigid adherence to the Universal Food Code was no match for the primal satisfaction of a perfectly constructed sandwich. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. The agenda: the unprecedented culinary crisis. The accusations: flu, biohazard, cultural imperialism, unsanctioned gastronomic warfare. But as the arguments raged, a strange phenomenon began to occur. One by one, the council members, their own internal regulations overridden by an undeniable craving, began to surreptitiously reach for the evidence, the remaining sandwiches, that had been confiscated and brought in as exhibits. The meeting devolved into a chaotic, yet strangely harmonious, symphony of chewing. The Universal Food Code, once an unbreakable pillar of galactic order, had been utterly, deliciously subverted. Final chapter: the new galactic palate. The aftermath of the Interstellar Trade Summit was, for the Galactic Council, a period of profound revaluation. The Universal Food Code, once the bedrock of their dietary regulations, lay in tatters, not through legislative repeal, but through sheer, overwhelming popular demand. The Terran anomaly, as Chef Anya's sandwiches were now affectionately known, had irrevocably altered the galactic palate. Species that had subsisted on nutrient paste for millennia suddenly found themselves craving crunch and temps. Diplomatic negotiations began to include informal sandwich breaks, where deals were sealed not with solemn vows, but with shared bites of sourdough and aged cheese. The Cathar, once rigid in their dietary adherence, developed a surprising fondness for the subtle spice of Anya's roasted garlic spread, their chitinous plates now displaying vibrant hues of contentment. Ambassador Zelos, initially a staunch defender of the old ways, found himself reluctantly admitting a certain appreciation. His digestive system, once so easily perturbed, had adapted. He even found himself, on occasion, seeking out the Terran diplomatic vessel, ostensibly for cultural exchange, but secretly hoping for a fresh batch of Anya's creations. He observed, with a mixture of bewilderment and grudging admiration, how human cuisine, in its glorious unpredictability, fostered connections that centuries of sterile diplomacy had failed to achieve. Chef Anya, now a minor celebrity across the galaxy, found her kitchen transformed into a hub of interspecies culinary experimentation. Alien chefs, initially skeptical, arrived with open minds and empty stomachs. Eager to learn the secrets of Terran cooking, they marveled at the concept of seasoning, the deliberate layering of flavors, and the sheer audacity of combining ingredients that, by all logical standards, should not work together. The idea of comfort food, a concept utterly alien to most species, began to take root as aliens discovered the emotional solace found in a warm, familiar dish. The Universal Food Code was eventually revised, not to ban Terran cuisine, but to incorporate it. A new section was added, Category T, Terran gastronomy, which, in a concession to Galactic order, attempted to classify the unclassifiable. It included warnings about unpredictable flavor explosions and potential for emotional attachment. But it also acknowledged the unique cultural bonding properties and unparalleled sensory experiences offered by human food. The galaxy, once content with its bland, predictable sustenance, had discovered the joy of eating. And there was no going back.